I used to think the loneliest sound in the world was silence, but I was wrong. The loneliest sound is the woman you spent 35 years loving sliding divorce papers across the kitchen table like your entire life together was just another bill waiting to be signed. Tonight, my wife looked me dead in the eyes and told me she was done with me, and somewhere between the anger, the disbelief, and the terror of losing the only person I had left, I became someone I barely recognize. The argument started quietly in our old Colorado home, the same house where we raised our daughter and celebrated birthdays and Christmas mornings, but it turned ugly fast. When she said another man's name by accident, something inside me snapped, and before my brain could catch up to my emotions, my hand struck her face. The sound of that slap still echoes through this empty house like a gunshot. I wish I could take it back. God, I wish I could erase that moment from existence. She touched her cheek, stared at me with this cold, exhausted sadness, and then calmly pulled folded divorce papers from her purse, like she had rehearsed this night 100 times before. "Just sign them, Daniel," she whispered. "There's nothing left to save." My hands shook as I looked down at the papers, but before I picked up the pen, I asked the only question destroying my heart right now. Why now, after everything we survived together? She didn't answer me. She just stood there in silence, while 35 years of memories crashed into me all at once. I met Claire when we were both 24 years old, back when I still had thick black hair and dreams bigger than my paycheck. We lived in a tiny apartment outside Chicago with broken heating and cockroaches in the kitchen, surviving on canned soup and cheap frozen dinners while I worked construction during the day and drove delivery trucks at night. Claire wanted to become a painter, and I believed in her so much that I buried half my own dreams just to make room for hers. I skipped college. I turned down opportunities. I worked overtime for decades because I thought love meant sacrifice. When our daughter Emily got sick at 8 years old and the hospital bills nearly destroyed us, I worked 90-hour weeks without complaining because protecting my family felt more important than sleeping. I missed anniversaries. I missed school plays. I even missed my father's funeral because I couldn't afford unpaid leave back then. I kept telling myself all the sacrifices would mean something someday. But somewhere between mortgage payments, long work shifts, and the exhaustion of trying to hold our lives together, I stopped being her husband and slowly became the tired old man who just paid the bills and fell asleep in front of the television every night. Looking back now, I can admit I failed her in ways I didn't understand at the time. Claire used to beg me to slow down, to spend more time with her, to notice her again, but I always thought there would be more time later. That's the lie men like me tell ourselves while life quietly slips through our fingers. About a year ago, I started noticing the changes. She smiled at her phone, more than she smiled at me. She started dressing nicer just to go downtown. She laughed differently around me, like someone pretending to still care. Then one night, while she was asleep on the couch, her phone lit up beside me, and I saw a message from a man named Victor saying, "I wish you'd left him years ago." I felt my entire body go numb. It wasn't just the affair that broke me. It was realizing another man had been receiving the version of my wife I hadn't seen in years. He got her laughter, her excitement, her attention, while I got silence and distance and polite conversations about groceries. I wanted to hate her after that, but the truth is far more painful than hate. I understand how we got here. I spent decades trying to build a safe life for my family while forgetting that people also need affection, attention, and emotional warmth to survive. By the time I finally slowed down enough to notice the loneliness between us, another man was already standing inside the space I left empty. But none of that changes what happened tonight. None of it changes the shame I feel for raising my hand to the woman I once promised to protect forever. Maybe that slap was the final proof that our marriage had already died long before tonight. After she went upstairs to pack a suitcase, I sat alone at this kitchen table, staring at those divorce papers for almost an hour before signing them. 35 years reduced to ink on paper. And the hardest part isn't losing her. The hardest part is realizing that after a lifetime of trying to become the man my family needed, I ended up old, exhausted, and completely alone in a house that no longer feels like home.